Four, three, two, one. Okay, hello, everybody. Welcome to Into the Night Paranormal Bigfoot Talk Radio. Thank you for everybody that's showing up today. Tonight we have Krista and Brandi from Booze and Blondes. If I have that correct, Booze and Blondes. They are Bigfoot researchers. They also do paranormal. Thank you today, ladies, for coming today. Thank you, and also Happy Mother's Day.
Thank
Oh,
you.
early
Thank
Mother's Day.
you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. We are blondes and booze. Not
Blondes
booze.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
That's all
It's
right.
good. We've been called a whole lot worse. So you
Yeah.
call it booze and blondes.
With the
that's
Oh,
name, with
let me spray myself.
yeah, no, it's like with the name with blondes and booze, you can go all kinds of ways with that name.
You're right.
right. Exactly.
Yeah, so that's great. So, ladies, let's start with this. How did you all get started?
Oh gosh. For me, it was paranormal, and that was 15 plus years ago. And then here in 2020, I had a Bigfoot encounter, and then so I switched. Not really switched. My passion is the paranormal. However, Bigfoot, dogmen, that kind of thing has really taken its toll on me. So it's kind of brought me over to that side. So for me,
Uh,
Very
with me, it started off as paranormal, but it was paranormal from the very get-go. My family was, very in tune with the spiritual side and things like that, and so it was not abnormal for me to see any type of spirit or hear something my whole entire life. And my mom is very intuitive, so she would help me along in this and saying, hey, it's okay, you'll see them, you might not, it's okay. But I grew up in Michigan, and so Bigfoot and dogmen were, I've always heard the stories. I always knew they were there. And so, as I tell everybody, I'm surprised I'm still alive, because as a child and a teenager, we'd run those woods like there was nothing out there. We didn't pay attention to anything. We were just like, we're out there to have fun, da da da, see what we see. Well, I know better now. So, that has always been a part of my life. Well, then I met Krista through another paranormal group a few years back, and we kind of hit it off. So we eventually got into a different group where we are together in the paranormal side. But one night we were sitting out on her back deck, and it's probably about midnight, and we were just having coffee and just, looking at the stars and stuff. And she said, what do you think about dogmen? And let me tell you, the floodgates opened, and it was from then on out, it was like, there we are. There we are. We just, that was just one more thing that just, I guess, really was the catalyst for what we're into now. It really started everything. So, but I think we're really more into it now because of the experiences that we've heard about, the encounters that we've heard about, and the little things that we've seen. So
yeah.
So I'm super excited, and we're really looking forward to going out and researching more out into the field. I mean, we're really close to Land Between the Lakes, so that is kind of like our go-to. We are in love with the place, and we're addicted.
So let me ask you this: it does get addictive. You're right. You're right. I know how that is. Do you all feel that? Do you all listen to the legends of Land Between the Lakes? I'm sure you all have heard the horror stories and everything. How do you feel when you're there? Since you all are very intuitive and everything, do you feel
Wow.
anything?
The whole place just has a weird vibe as soon as you pull on into the property. And it's not only Brandi and I that say this, but other researchers, they say the same thing. It's just, it's very sad. It's very, I don't even know what the right words are for it. It's
Like depressing? Is it like a depressing spirit?
very much
It,
so.
it, it is, but it's not bad by any means. It's not bad. It'll make you feel different. I mean, that's the word I'm looking for, is different. The very first time that Krista and I even stepped foot in the place, we were actually just driving in. We had just turned in, and we were probably what, a half a mile in, Krista, probably a half a
Right.
mile. And then all of a sudden it was like we both at the same time were starting to get choked up. Our eyes started watering, and there was nothing out there that would do that. We were just driving, and these things happened.
Yeah.
So I mean, there is definitely a vibration that you can feel. You can definitely feel it.
Yeah.
And because we talked about this last night, that it's basically one big cemetery, this place. There's a lot of sadness in the area, and you feel it. But it's not bad, it's just different.
See, I differ with Brandy's view. The whole place to me is just negative. Everything from back in, the early settler days to, in the 60s of what they did to the place, the Corps did. And even, the killings and the missing people that's been gone missing and been killed out there. And I don't mean just on the cryptid side, I mean by human hands as well, you know.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's
Mhm.
true.
So
Absolutely.
it's not a place for me that makes me feel good. The only part that is good to me when I go there is the people I'm with. So
Well, that's
Yeah.
good.
yeah,
Well, because we went out to Hematite Lake this last time, but once I got in that water, I felt good. I'm a
Yeah.
water baby though. It's like whenever I feel like negative or have negative vibrations around me, I'll go get in water, and it'll automatically make me feel better. And we were out there just getting in there hunting rocks, and being in that water just made me feel great. So, I mean, it's good places in there for you.
yeah.
That's great. That's great. Is it like when you all do you do when you go there? Do you camp out like for the weekend or a couple of days, a few days?
Yeah,
Because
we usually do a full weekend.
okay. Do you all do like native camping or trailer camping or cabin? What do you?
Well, we do. It's a cabin. However, there's no running water or restrooms in there. You
Yeah,
have,
very rustic. Yeah,
yeah, you
very
have,
rustic.
and that's it. That's all you have.
I know about that.
Yeah.
I know about that.
So
Only because we know what's out there.
Right.
I prefer a wall. Honestly, I do. I prefer a wall.
not a
And
canvas.
yeah,
I
no, yeah,
I
no.
understand that.
Mhm.
From experience, I understand you don't want these things pushing on your tent. I know how that is.
Yeah,
Definitely.
you don't want to see like the shadow. You don't want to hear the brushing of it as it goes by. No,
Nope.
no.
Totally understand. Totally.
Yeah. It's a I don't know. It's just the whole place is pretty crazy, and honestly, it's really not the Bigfoot that scare me out there. It's more along the dogmen.
Yeah.
Right.
They've been known to be aggressive out there, and a friend of ours, Martin Groves, he's got a heck of an encounter. If you haven't heard it, you need to or get his
Okay,
book.
Martin. Okay.
Yes, and he's legit. He's a retired police officer. And Brandy and I sat next to him when he told his encounter, and it's frightening. I mean,
It
and it's
is.
from his heart. You can tell when someone's BSing you. And there was no deception there at all, none.
Yeah.
So
So
we know what's out there. It's not the Bigfoot that scare me. It is the dogman.
No.
that's deep. Have you ever experienced any element of the Bigfoot at the land between the lakes, or just strictly the dog man
Honestly,
or dog woman?
our very first time out there, there was a group of us. There was about 10 or 11 of us.
Yeah.
We seen these creatures peering from behind trees, and then it would go back. Can I say it was a Bigfoot or a dogman or even a shadow person? I don't know. However, I feel it's more along the cryptid humanoid side. Um, so that for me was the only encounter that I personally have had out there, which what I personally believe was some sort of cryptid myself.
And Brandi, how was your encounter out there? Like, did you experience anything weird or crazy?
I did. I did this last time we went. Well, of course, we're out there. We're walking around, and I had we were doing a segment for our show, and so Krista was videoing, but I had a digital recorder, and I had my earphones on so I could live listen. So I could hear a pin drop. Well, you know that it's so loud out there with just the birds and the leaves and the wind that I'm like, well, I'm not going to hear much. I'm not, I'm really not going to hear anything. But I think it was within 2 minutes of being where we were that we got a tree knock, and it is a legitimate 100% tree knock. You can hear it. It echoes. You can hear it. And then you'll hear more in quick succession before a truck goes by, and then it kind of cuts out and you can't really hear anything. But like I said, this just happened last week, so I haven't had time to go into the evidence and really tear it apart, and enhance it, because I wanted everybody to hear it from the original, So we've got that right now. But the tree knocks, absolutely, they are textbook tree knocks. So I mean, yeah, you're hearing it, and there was nobody else out there. It was this one lone truck, in which out in the land between the lakes, people go out there and they adventure. There are roads going everywhere in there. Some are closed off, some are not.
Roads to nowhere.
Yeah, roads to nowhere. You could be going anywhere in there. So every once in a while, you're going to have somebody come out there. But in this instance, it was like one lone truck, just one, comes through there right at the time that we're hearing this, and it was absolutely amazing. And we didn't even hear it. I didn't even hear the tree knock until I went back and reviewed it.
Yeah, and then you can hear it as plain as day.
Yeah, it's there.
So were you all able to do anything to like get the tree knock, or it just happened naturally? Were you able to like maybe make a sound, or you knocked on a tree and then?
Honestly, we were there for more along the ghost side of things.
Okay.
Yeah, we were because we were in a cemetery there.
Yeah. However, we were only about maybe a half mile from the 1982 kill site. So
now when you say, can you explain, so for the people that don't know about the 1982 kill site? I think I know that. Can you all tell us?
Yeah, there was a family of 4 that was out there camping, and they were murdered by 2 dogmen. And it was awful. It was a girl and a boy, children, and then the mom and dad. And they were in a camper, and I believe the mom and the little girl were in the camper. And actually, they say it was dogmen. Went in there and murdered them, and supposedly the little girl was found hanging in a tree, and it was awful. So there's been a lot of cover up with that, and of course, nobody's going to come out and admit there's dogmen out there that killed a family before, but there's credible people out there who know it happened.
Yeah, well, they consider it a massacre because of the actual mutilation that was done to to these 4 people, and it was like it wasn't done by a knife. It wasn't. It wasn't. It was done by claws. Absolutely, absolutely, and teeth. Yeah, and teeth. So, it's just a horrible story. But we were only that far. People like to say that one side that of the LBL that dogmen are there, and then the other side that Bigfoot are there. I don't believe that.
I don't believe that either.
I think that they're anywhere they want to be.
And I'll tell you why I believe that, because we were up by DeMumbers Bay, where the supposed 1982 kill site is. However, this past weekend, 2 of our friends witnessed a dogman, an actual dogman, on the other side. So that's why I don't believe, the theory.
Yeah, we definitely don't believe that they're segregated. We believe that they're anywhere they want to be.
Right, definitely. Do you feel that that they're I just love the whole story, not what happened to the people, but
Sure.
LBL. So if I kind of stay on that, forgive me. Do you feel that the LBL that they are, or do you feel that they're like paranormal, ghost-like, or flesh and blood, or have you been able to find any like footprints or tree breaks or?
So we, Brandi and I were diehard flesh and blood girls
Right.
Yes,
a year ago.
about a year ago. Yes,
You could have
until
different.
until
Yep, you could not have told us any different. You know, flesh and blood, these things can be shot and killed. However, our first trip to the LBL, when I had told you about the tree peekers, that whole evening, right after that, all of us were seeing orbs in the woods on the tree line. We were the only ones out there. There wasn't anybody else out there. There wasn't anybody out there walking around the woods with flashlights. Some of us seen white orbs. Some of us seen reddish orange ones. Some of us seen blue ones of different sizes. And we would see them, you know, like 2 or 3 of us would see them together. And as soon as you'd look, they would just go away, disappear. And then we
Yeah.
would shine a flashlight, nothing. And then we could also hear Bart and Letitia Nunley. They're really good friends of ours, and they were out there at that time with us. And we were sitting around the camp. This was the night Martin Groves was telling his story, and you could hear something walking up to us. However, you shine a light, and there's nothing.
nothing.
So
Because you got to understand now. This is January.
Mhm.
And it's cold, and I am not kidding. It is cold.
Cold.
Matter of fact, that night when we left the LBL, it started to rain ice. So it was that cold out there. So nobody was out there just camping. There was not families out there. They're not doing this. This was just us out there, and there was nobody else moving out there except for maybe some wildlife. But with knowing wildlife, when storms are coming in and things like that, they have a tendency to hunker down and get where they're going to be, because they can feel that when it's coming in.
Oh yeah.
So, it was very minimal wildlife that we saw.
Mhm.
I didn't see much of wildlife at all. So when we heard this, it was kind of like, okay, that's kind of weird. Plus the movement, of course, dead leaves are going to sound like a whole ruckus when you're out there walking around, but it was very distinct, and you could hear it as if it were one person
Something
and one
walking
person
up
walking.
to you.
Yeah.
I mean, I honestly, I expected to see a squirrel or something coming up to us. Absolutely nothing. And there, again, it was January, so the leaves were all off the trees. Visibility was good as far as that goes, and nothing. So Brandi and I kind of went over to the, I guess they say the woo side, where we don't believe they're 100% flesh and blood.
Right.
Not all. No, some,
Some.
maybe flesh and blood, but there are some that are not.
Right. Definitely. Yeah, I do agree with that. I used to believe that too. It was all flesh and blood, but then you start to see that it's too much mystery behind.
Absolutely.
The disappearing. It's just mind-boggling. So, do you all feel? Well, let me ask you, where's yours? Is your main area of research LBL because you're so close to it? Is that, okay.
Honestly, yeah. And then, like I said, with our friends we go to with Bart and Letitia Nunley, that's been their area for many years. Bart's researched it extensively, and we were invited to go out there the first time, with them. And so now it's just there's a group of us, about 12 of us, I guess, Brandi.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yes.
And yeah. So,
but we're going to open up an area that is also close to us. We haven't been there yet, but we're planning a trip there. It's in the Mark Twain National Forest. Now that's we're gonna the area that we're going to concentrate on is in the southeastern place of Missouri. So we're going to open that up because there have been encounters there, but there's been encounters of UFOs, there's been encounters of paranormal. It's
Everything.
a wide array of encounters and experiences and things happening there. So we're looking forward to actually opening up that area to us and doing a little research there, or maybe a lot, depending on what we find.
Okay, yeah, that's great. Yeah, and I just found out because I didn't know Missouri they have a lot of paranormal action too. I just found out
We
like
do.
3 weeks ago. I was kind of researching, just looking
Yeah.
online. And
Missouri is known as the cave state, and I believe a lot of these creatures follow in the cave systems. And
Exactly.
Tennessee, all of those, they're full of caves, and there's a lot of Bigfoot
I
and
mean, is that the way they're traveling? Because just like the ocean, we've only just hit the very tip of the iceberg on what's in the ocean. But what are in these cave systems? There are things that we may never know that are in there because we have not traveled the entire cave system,
right,
because we can't.
right.
It's not physically possible. So, your guess is as good as mine of what's going on in those systems.
Mhm.
And then they go through Kentucky and into that area. And I mean,
Mhm.
there's
they
no
can
telling.
travel very easily.
Yeah,
Definitely, especially, I guess, and if I guess they're powerful enough to, if even if you have a tight spot in a cave system, they could probably just boom, 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 just claw it
yeah,
out. And
yeah. Or again, if they're
Exactly.
kind of on the woo side, maybe they
Just
can.
pop on through.
Right.
Yeah,
Who knows? Who knows?
That
yeah.
is true.
So I don't
Yeah,
know.
definitely. Yeah, they are really a mystery, especially because I've seen images. I have a young lady; she sends me her images in our own backyard, and sometimes they're so ghost-like, but you can actually see a Bigfoot, but it's just they're transparent. So
Yeah,
it's crazy.
yeah.
So you all, your next place, you go ahead and open up, and what was the place called again?
It's Mark
Mark
Twain.
Twain
Mark Twain.
National Forest. Yeah.
Okay, it's basically, so you all are in Michigan.
We're in Missouri.
Missouri.
You're in Missouri. Okay,
Yeah.
but you do go to Michigan for LBL.
No, the LBL is in
That's Kentucky.
and
Kentucky.
Tennessee. Parts
Okay.
of it are
Kentucky
in
and Tennessee.
Kentucky and Tennessee. Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Mhm.
Man, you all have like a lot of hot spots, a lot of areas to research. Definitely.
We have a lot of friends that have introduced us to their hotspots. So
Yeah, exactly.
So were you growing up? Now I know because Brandi said she experienced kind of like a lot of the paranormal ghost-like thing within her family. Krista, were you affected as a child growing up, or did it kind of hit you as an adult with the whole Bigfoot paranormal?
I've always seen things. However, I always just brushed everything off for the most part. Um, like I said, I have a friend who lives in a house that's very, very haunted. And I stayed with her for a while and witnessed a lot of things I couldn't explain. So, um, you know, paranormal wise, that's really what kind of got my jump start in this many years ago. And she still lives in this house to today. So,
I had 2 ghost experiences. Don't want them again. I don't know.
yeah.
And that is the experience of a lot of people, that they experience at one time and they're like, I don't want that anymore. I don't want that. Krista and I, on the other hand, I go looking for it now. You can say what you want to say about it, but I do go looking for it. Krista, on the other side, she's the one that is more of, she's going to go into your house and take care of your problem. You got a problem with a spirit or anything bothering you in your home, you call her, she'll call me, we'll come to your house, we'll take care of the business. We'll find out exactly what it is, if it's harmful, if it's not harmful. Krista has also had some demonic experience. We both have studied demonology, so we're there for the people, and it's kind of like, we don't charge for our services. We don't do anything like that because we're just here to help.
That's good.
Yeah. So that, honestly, that is our main focus, is to help people. When it comes to Bigfoot, Dogman, and any other cryptid, now that's kind of our fun time. that is for our own research. That's what we
That's
you know
for
we
ourselves.
love to. Yeah, that's for ourselves. Yes.
That's great. That is great. Well, that's good. At least we all know we have you all to kind of help the people that are affected by the negative.
Oh,
Yeah, and there are quite a few.
Oh,
Absolutely,
yes.
there's quite a few people, and like I said, I mean, we haven't. I'm there to find out. I'm on the technical side. I should say I'm on the technical side of the paranormal. I do all the the devices and everything that I'm trying to get the evidence. Krista, on the other hand, is
It's the muscle.
she is definitely on our psychic side. She's the one that feels the vibrations and everything. Now, I feel them differently than she does, but she's the one that says, "Oh, well, this is just a grumpy person," or this person, this is just a regular old, once was a person living on Earth. But then she's also the person to say, "No, this is not. This isn't. This isn't anything that's lived, on Earth. This is something else." She's that person. So I'm just kind of like, well, Krista, this is your department. I'm just gonna step over here. I'm your backup.
Right.
That's great. So do you all when you go out, do you all go, like, have you all been able well, let me ask you this. I got a good question. How do you all feel about the tree breaks and tree structures? Because in the Bigfoot community and the Dogman community, there's kind of a lot of back and forth about that. How do you feel about structures?
I personally think that, I think they're out there. I don't think all of the tree breaks or all of the tree structures are made by a Bigfoot. I think you really need to examine them and look and see, are there roots there or how, look above and did this branch break or fall? So I think before you just jump out and say, oh, Bigfoot did this, really look into it first.
Definitely.
That's my opinion.
I think that I wouldn't just look at a tree break and say, "Oh, that's Bigfoot or that's Dogman," or whatever that could be. I'm looking for more of, was it a living tree? Is it twisted? How far up is it? Are there any markings on the tree that would suggest that something climbed it, maybe a bear, or, you've got to look at these things. But we've also saw pictures of, they're really graphic, but of a deer. I'm sorry if there's any children listening, this is kind of gross. We saw a deer that its head was completely twisted around, probably twice. So I don't know of any animal that would do that.
Right.
Right. I know of cryptids that will do that, but not animals that we have and that we know of. But yeah, it was twisted around and only a certain part of it was missing. Like something reached in, grabbed what it wanted out of the carcass, and then left the rest.
Right.
That's how normal.
I have somebody that keeps walking in and walking back out. So
I know. Hey, Krista, you already explained to me, so I got your back. Now I know. Just real quick, I know in my area, I know I've gotten a few of the twisted deer and everything. I do have the tree, so I kind of get a lot of crazy stuff going on, and they'll leave something, a deer or its insides are out, and they'll leave me the skin.
Right.
So I have seen that neck twist thing, which is kind of freaky.
That is, yeah, it's and that takes a lot of strength.
Right.
So, really, what kind of animals would do that? None that I know of.
I don't feel like can just twist a deer's head twice. I just don't believe that.
As long as it's not ours.
Right.
Right, exactly. But we've also seen where it's a live tree, and I don't know if you've ever tried to even twist even a stick. It's like you can't. Right. You can't twist it. There's no way. We don't have the strength to do that. But when you look at a tree that's living and it's it's green, and you try to twist that limb, no, that's not going to happen.
It totally sucks. It's like rubber.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So I mean, that's the type of the stuff that we're actually looking for. So we're looking up as we're looking down for prints.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, most definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Do you
Yeah.
all, if you have to choose, well, like you said, your Bigfoot is your fun time. Do you all do do you all do the haunted house thing? I think you said that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
We do, as Brandi had stated, we do private cases where we go into people's homes and help them. We also do public events where we hold at a location, and the public can come in and ghost hunt with us. They do have to pay. However, we don't pocket that money. That money goes back to that location for
Nice.
historical preservation, because they have to operate. They have to keep the lights on, and a lot of people don't visit these places anymore. So we hold events, for that, and
That's very nice. Very
so
good.
Yeah. So if you're new to the paranormal, but you've always wanted to do it, these events are the greatest time to come do it. So you can go and investigate with people who have actually have had encounters and things like that, or to learn how to use equipment and what's the best stuff, and then you can even watch other people with their equipment and figure out what techniques they use, because it may not be something you ever thought of.
right.
So yeah, that's a great time to do that. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Totally
Absolutely.
agree. There's always room to learn. Totally.
Yes.
Do you all now? Will you all be going to any other states when you have time?
Like different states
Yeah,
traveling.
will you all be doing that this summer?
We actually have a lot of events coming up that we are going to. We have a Alabama Bigfoot conference in June 9th and 10th we're going to be at. And then we have a Gatlinburg Bigfoot conference. We'll be there. I think it's July 21st or 22nd. We have up in Rockford, Illinois with the Kling brothers. That's more on the paranormal side. We're doing that event. September, we have a Dogman conference in Texas we're attending. And then we actually have our own event we are holding at Malvern Manor on
In
July.
Iowa.
Yeah, in
In
Iowa.
Iowa.
So we travel a lot.
Man,
Yeah.
you all are busy. You all are very
We are.
Well,
busy.
even in a couple weeks before our Blondes and Booze, conventions start, I'm going down to Texas, and I'm going to go to the Haunted Hill House and check it out. People have always talked about it being so haunted and things like that. Well, that's what I do. I go check it out to see if it is as haunted as people say.
Yeah.
You all are brave. That's so crazy. I mean, I understand this. Once you're into it, you're into it. And then the outsiders look at it and say, wow, so I understand.
Yep.
Well, and also the end of June, we're going to Broken Bow, Alabama, or Broken Bow, Oklahoma. We're going to check out an asylum that's there.
Mhm.
And
that's what I wanted to ask you about, the asylums. Okay.
Yeah. Those are hospitals, asylums, nursing homes. Those are my favorite. Those are my favorite. Yeah, absolutely. Those are my favorite, because there is so much emotion. Now, I'm not talking about just the death and the sad part of it or the tragedy. I am talking about the emotion, like in a hospital of giving birth, or a life-saving surgery, or all of these emotions are poured into that foundation of the building.
Yeah.
And I think it has a residual effect that kind of that it leaves and just vibrates within that building.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I love them, because it's not all tragedy. Paranormal hunting and investigation is not all about tragedy.
And that's
it's
never
just
thought about that. Like the giving birth aspect.
Yeah, there's a lot of happiness that goes on in there. Like I said, a life-saving surgery. Can you imagine if somebody saved one of your loved ones, and how happy would you be?
Right.
I mean, there is just all kinds of emotions that are just poured out. So, it's just not all negative,
Right. Yep.
Well, as I'm walking in, standing behind you all, I'll have the emotion of protection from you too.
And there you go.
Oh yeah. We go in we are spiritually armed
Mhm.
because we are Christians. You know, we definitely believe in God. We use Him as our armor. So
And that's the
we
thing too, to touch on that real quick. I don't knock anybody who believes, who believes in like the earth to protect them and things like that.
which I do.
It's about your intent, and what you truly believe works for you is going to work for you. We
Right?
happen to, God is our savior.
Yes.
Mhm.
You know, it's kind of like I like my crystals and I like all the other kind of stuff. I'm really a Mother Earth kind of girl. Again, I'm a Christian, and I believe that crystals and everything else, God made those for us to use.
Mhm.
So that's my side. That is my belief. So that is why that I use them. And I feel that they can help because they were put here for us.
Mhm. Yeah.
That is very true. Do you feel, well, Brandi, do you feel that the crystals, do you all take those out when you ever go for the ghost hunting or the Bigfooting and dog man, dog woman game? You all take the crystals?
Yes.
Okay.
We're like, yes, we do.
Yes.
Chris, I'm gonna let you tell your side of that.
I
And
personally, the only thing I carry with me, I carry black tourmaline, and I keep it in my pocket. And sometimes, if I get a little nervous or something, I'll rub on it or something, But yeah, yep.
Okay, so for the people that don't know, what is that term? What is, um,
hold on, she's got somebody in
right.
there evidently.
And I
But
knew that's what.
I'll tell my side of the
Right.
story. Now I find that when I go into a location, and if I carry crystals on me, it kind of dulls my senses. Like
Ooh,
I can't hear the voices and I can't see them as clearly or see them at all. So I do not carry crystals into a location with me.
right.
But
Okay.
do I carry them in my car? Do I carry them up until the point I go in? Do I get them when I come out? Absolutely. Absolutely. Because I don't want anything coming with me. I'm not saying that it can't, but I'm just saying I am going to protect myself as much as possible to make sure that doesn't happen.
Definitely.
But like I said, if I go into a location and I've got crystals on me, I am overprotected because, like I said before, we have our spiritual armor on from God. And if I get too much armor on, it's just like, you can't hear anything or see anything.
Mhm.
So I go in with that mindset, that intent that God is my savior. He's going to protect me from this. So I do not carry anything on me at that point. But when I do come out of a location that you would think that is a little more on the negative side, or you feel that perhaps you just don't feel right. I'm just going to put it that way. You have those weird vibes when you come out. I will use sage, which people have laughed at me before, but I will take my shoes off. I will put my feet in the dirt on the grass. I will sage from the bottom of my feet to the top of my head, and I will make sure that I am cleansed before I leave that location.
That's good.
You know,
Yeah.
and as I walk out the door, and I'm like, you may be a spirit, but you're not coming home with me. You got to stay
Right.
here.
Right.
You know.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So
I
it
tell
is
you.
the intent, even though we walk out and we say, you know what, you have to stay here, but we mean it.
Right.
That's not just something we're saying. We're saying, I don't think so.
Yeah, because they will try to follow you home and infest your life and your family.
Yeah. And, and I do have a little bit of trouble with that right now. And
Uh-oh.
it was unintentional. It was very unintentional what happened. It was something that kind of blindsided me, Krista, wouldn't you say?
Yes.
Kind of blindsided me because I wasn't aware.
Can you talk about that, or is that personal?
Oh, no. I mean, well, it's happening to me. It's my real life story. I've had other things going on, which I won't go into because that is really deeply personal. But I will talk about this one certain thing. I was driving to work. Now I go to work very, very early in the morning, and I live out. It's about 7 to 10 miles, but I live outside of town. I'm not far, but it's very rural. So there's like 5 houses on my road, and it's dirt. So when I leave for work, it's usually about 4 something in the morning as I'm going, and we all know it's dark. So I'm on my way to work. And as soon as I get into town and I make the first turn to go through town, because I got to get on a highway and then travel, it takes me about 40 minutes to get to work. So I turn this corner and all that's on is street lights. There's no cars, which is not, out of the ordinary. This is something normal. And then all of a sudden I see a figure that's like coming up to the road. Now I couldn't see if it was a man or a woman. It was just a black figure coming up, and the street lights, and you know that it could have been standing in a shadow coming up. Well, I'm looking at it going, oh my gosh, they're going to walk out into the road. So I look back at the road, and then I look back to make sure they weren't crossing the road, and the spirit was gone. Because I'm going to call it a spirit, because that's exactly what it was. It was a shadow person, and it was gone.
Okay.
So after that had happened, I'm like, okay, I just saw a shadow person walking down the road. So right immediately after I noticed that they had disappeared, I got a strong smell of cooking oil, like almost like burnt cooking oil. And I smelled that for maybe a quarter mile to a half mile in my vehicle. And it was so strong. Now, the road I'm traveling down, there's no restaurants there. There's nothing that would produce that smell at 4 o'clock in the morning. So I knew that this was out of the ordinary, and I've never had smelled that before. And I travel it every day. So when that happened, so I immediately told Krista, and strange things have been happening. We had gone to Michigan, and I'm going to let Krista tell this story, because it all goes together. We had gone to Michigan for Potographs for Pooches for it's a paranormal conference held, in Michigan, and I'll let Krista finish this story here.
So we took our friend Letitia Nunley with us, and she and I shared a room together, and we heard, this was the second night that we were there, we heard a loud bang, like something just fell, but it wasn't something light, it was something super heavy. So I got up and I looked and didn't see anything. So me being paranormal, I just went right back to sleep. Letitia, however, they're cryptid people. They're not paranormal people.
Uh-oh.
So she was kind of freaked out. And then about 10 minutes later, it happened again for a second time. And by this time, she was really freaked out. Once again, I got up and looked. Nothing had fallen on the ground. And I went back to sleep and slept all night. Well, apparently she was up all night, scared, and I didn't realize that. And I apologized to her since then. I told her she should have woke me up. But I think that we had Brandi's, whatever you want to call it, there with us.
Yeah, because I slept like a baby. Just had, it was all good. I didn't, I was, I'm like, oh, this is nice. I'm like, I'm glad to be away from home, but I think I've carried this thing with me, and it kind of like was kind of seeing what the other girls were doing while we were there. But when I got home, I decided, okay, I'm tired now. We had just drove all day. I'm gonna lay down. That point where you get in bed and you feel this like this restful sleep coming over you just when you're getting ready to go to sleep, and you close your eyes and your whole body relaxes. At that very moment, a male voice said my name, said Brandi, right in my ear, as if, it were standing right over top of me. And it probably was. Now, I know that people hear things in their head, but I know the difference. I know when I hear it with my ears, and I know when I hear it in my head, and that was definitely in my ears. And at that point, I'm like, oh boy, I'm home. Here it is. This particular thing, I think, kind of attached to me that week before we went to Michigan, kind of hung out with the other ladies for the weekend, and then, rode back with me again, of course. Ever since then, I've had issues with my electronics, my telephone, you name it, my computer. It's like everything. I keep getting glitches. That's why I have an office. I literally have an office, but I had to move out of there to do these shows because I'll have a good signal for 1 second and then it's gone. It just doesn't make any sense. And then there are other times where I can't even get out at all. but it was fine.
And she went for
before.
months without an issue in the office.
Yeah,
Mhm.
without an issue.
Man,
Now,
is just too much.
in my office, it is a room off of my bedroom that my office is. And when I'm laying in bed, I can see right inside my office. And there is a window there because they added on the garage after they had built the house. They added on a garage there, and they left the window there so I can see out that window into the garage. Well, I have, of course, blinds on it because I don't really want to look in my garage. But I could see, if you've ever seen a shadow person, you know that they are blacker than black. If you're in a room that you think is super dark and you say, "Hey, it's super black in here," nope. Those things will appear even darker
Oh,
than the room.
right.
So when
True
your eyes
story.
adjust to a room, because it takes a few minutes, but once your eyes adjust, you can see things moving.
Right.
And so I'm laying in bed one night and I'm looking and I seen a shadow person moving in front of that window. So I know that this thing is still here, and it's causing me a little bit of problem. I haven't got super mad at it yet, but I don't want to engage it. And Krista will tell you this: you really don't want to engage things in your home unless you got a super big problem, because once you open that door, things will intensify. So then I had a problem with my plumbing. So I had to have a plumber come in and they had to rip out a wall and redo faucets and all this other kind of stuff. So I had all this kind of renovating of the plumbing going on in my house. And every time something happens, it's just like everything just keeps getting ramped up and things are happening. You'll hear people walking through the house, things will fall. And, that kind of stuff, it's not hurting me. It's just kind of like, it's okay. It's okay. It's not going to bother me. But if it were something where it's scaring, like my mother lives with me or, my youngest daughter is still at home. So if it's something that's going to harm them, it'd be an all out war. Krista would be down in my house. And if we had to take a week to do it, we'd take a week to do it.
Right.
Absolutely.
So, if I thought it was something like that, and she's coming down to the house in a couple weeks anyway. So, I think we're going to sit and listen. We're not going to try and talk to it or open up or do anything, but we're going to sit and listen and see what exactly is going on. Because like I said, you don't really want to open that can of worms at home.
Right.
No.
You have to live there.
Yeah. Even though I do this, all the time and, we talk about it all the time, it's something I won't do in my own home.
Right. Definitely.
Yeah.
That is just, man, that is creepy.
It's a normal life for Krista and I. This is things that we do that are normal. These are normal. That's why I call us the spooky moms.
Yep. Just part of another day for us.
Yeah.
So I got a couple of, I guess they're kind of like fun questions. Where'd you all get your name from?
So
I mean, obviously I know the blonde part, but
honestly, we're into the paranormal and it flowed good together, and it was strictly a marketing tactic. We've had people call us every other thing that you can think about a booze, and it was strictly a marketing tactic and it's worked. So
yeah, if you say booze really quickly, you can come up with a whole bunch of different words for that. So I'm sure that there's people that click on our YouTube channel and go, "Oh, this is not what I thought it was."
Definitely.
So we're on there talking about Bigfoot and dogmen, and they're like, "This is not it."
Yep. 100% clothed, no nudity.
Right.
Yep.
Definitely. So, when you all go out, well, let me ask you this: what was your scariest situation? What was your scariest?
Well, that's Krista has the scariest, and I'm gonna let her tell this story because it's fascinating and I love to hear about it. So, Krista, go ahead.
So I did a case with a friend of ours. He strictly deals in the negative type. Can you hear me okay? Because there's someone here playing a piano.
Right.
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear it in the background too. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, he does strictly the negative type hauntings, and so I help him. And this one, I do believe demons are out there, but they're few and far between. And this one was actually a true demonic case. And when we got there, we walked through the house and nothing. Couldn't find anything. The guy, he had just gotten out of prison for murder. He was in a gang, the M13s or whatever they are. I don't know. I'm not real familiar with gangs.
MS-13.
Yes. And the gal, she was an ex-prostitute who will later play in kind of into the story, but she was the only survivor of the BTK killer. So just so much negativity there in that house.
The
But,
BTK killer. I'm sorry.
Mhm.
yeah,
The only survivor of the BTK killer. Yes.
yeah,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
So she, very, very negative house. The man was probably close, and I'm not exaggerating, probably close to 7 feet tall, a big guy. He was probably 400 pounds, every bit of it, if not bigger. But I'm not talking obese. The man was massive. And she was a little bitty thing. Walked all through the house, couldn't find nothing. And went outside with another friend of ours, Kathy, that goes and does these things with us. And I was drawn to, there was a shed in back. And we walked back there and we were rushed and knocked both of Kathy and I to the ground. So I'm like, okay, well, we found what was here. What is here? There really is something here. And so our friend that we do these bad cases with, we went in, got him, and we told him about what happened. So he said, okay, give me a few minutes to talk to her a little more. And he told me, he said, I'm picking up on the BTK killer. And I said, well, I really don't know why, because the BTK killer is still alive and he's in prison, some federal prison. I really don't know why you'd be picking up on him. So fast forward, she went inside and our friend told the homeowner, he said, I don't know why I'm picking up on the BTK killer, but I am. And then she just broke down. And then that's when she told us she was a survivor of the BTK killer. She was a prostitute. And we didn't know that the man had been in prison for murder until after we were there and we were talking to him. And, he's changed. He did 20 something years, I believe everybody can change. However, I'm not making light of what he did. But, so the man had been, we didn't witness it, but they were said that, he was thrown across the room. Well, something's got to have magnificent, huge strength. And it's usually on the demonic side that can throw something that big, across the room. Your average Casper is not going to do that. So they went and we sat down and he talked to her and kind of explained to her what he was going to do. And he went to the back door and he told me to stand here in this hallway. And he said, remember, show no fear. And I'll never forget him telling me that. He said, I'm going to call it in. And after just a few minutes of taunting it to get it to come in, it came in. And I felt this thing breathing on my face. It was that close. And when he told me to move out of the way, I moved out of the way. He immediately jumped down here to the gal, held her hand, and he does what he does. And the rest of us, we were praying over him and her. In the meantime, I am watching invisible razor blade scratch his head. He starts having blood come through his shirt. The man is being torn up. It was definitely spiritual warfare going on. And after a few minutes, he stops. And literally when they say like the room gets brighter, it truly does. I witnessed that. It truly does. And I mean, like the whole house got lighter. And he actually, he got rid of it for her. And it was a low level demon. that was attached to her and had been attached to her for many years. But he had he was just holding this lady's hand. He wasn't holding anything. He had a cross burnt into the palm of his hand from this, and on top of the scratches that we watched, and he had blood going down, and it was awful. However, to this day, they are clean. They are free. She actually even tried out for American Idol. She didn't make it, but I mean, their whole life has changed. Yeah. So I would say that's probably my scariest.
Oh my goodness, that's too much. That's way too much.
Yeah.
It's too scary. Brandi, what was your scariest?
You know, I think I scare myself sometimes more than anything, you know, because it's like the unknown. I mean, I will tell you, I'll tell you how I scare myself, but then I'll get into another one. But okay, so I am at Old Pittsburgh South Hospital. Now, this is located in Tennessee. And so I'm watching this door, and it's kind of like it's opening and shutting just a little bit, you know, and I'm watching it. So I back up against this doorway, and then there's another room right there. So I'm watching it. Next thing you know, there was a big loud crash in this room behind me. I was so focused on that door moving a little bit. And when this crashed behind me, I must have jumped and screamed because I wasn't looking for that, you know, because we have a very calm approach when we're in there. When something happens, something crashes, or, you know, we're kind of like, did you hear that? Yeah. What do you think that was? And this is how we're talking back and forth. We try to not let our emotions get the best of us or come across, because again, you're filling the environment with a different type of emotion. And we all know that spirits will feed on fear. So we don't want that, you know, because it's all intent, and you don't want to show your fear in there. So basically I scare myself because I'm not paying attention to what's on the other side of me. But mine has not been as scary. Now, I've been a bunch of places now, but I was in Waverly Hills Sanitarium, and this is in Kentucky, outside of Louisville. So I was there, and we decided to do an Estes method, which an Estes method is using a spirit box, and one person is completely plugged in and blindfolded. So your senses are dulled, and you're trying to use one sense, which is your hearing, to tune in, and it's kind of like going almost into a trance-like state to tune in to what this radio is doing. Now, what this does is it sweeps radio stations, and it sweeps them so fast that you won't hear words or music, but it'll sweep it so fast. And what's supposed to happen is that spirits should be able to pick and choose their words out of the sweeps and the white noise to make words to come through this spirit box, so you can hear them. Well, on this night in particular at the sanitarium, I've got them on, and I'm blindfolded, and I'm sitting in a type of closet type deal, but my face is towards the room, and I'm sitting in the closet because I wanted to have access to the whole area, as in vibration wise. So I started talking. Well, as I was talking and saying things, the lady who was asking me questions now realized I cannot hear a word she's saying, nor can I see her. I don't know where she is in the room. Even if she's in the room, she could be standing in the doorway, in the hallway, asking questions, and I'm hearing the responses in my ear. But as she was talking, it was responding to her, and it called her by a nickname. It had actually said things about how everything was just sad in there and how many spirits were in the room and this kind of thing. But that didn't amaze me as much as the overwhelming feeling of sadness that came across me. I mean, without me knowing, because I'm just listening to the sweeps, I am crying. My nose is running. I don't even know what's going on. And see, I had a body cam on, and it's night vision. It's infrared, so you can see what's happening in front of me. We also had a thermal imager on me, so you could see the temperature of my body and the temperature of the room, which, of course, we want to see if the temperature changes in certain spots, if it gets colder or warmer. We want to see where this is happening. So there was a thermal imaging on me. So I sat there and I was kind of like, if you could just like talk to me, that would be great. But the emotions were so overwhelming. I was just crying. And on the video and on the thermal and everything, you can hear me and I'm talking, but I don't know what I'm saying. I don't know what I'm just spitting out whatever this thing is saying, but it was saying, do you see her? And it's saying, wipe it. It's like, then you hear, wipe her face. This is what I'm saying. And I don't even realize it's my own. During this, on the thermal imaging, now I had a hoodie on. It was probably about 52. I had a hoodie on and I had jeans on, which had some holes in the knees, you know. So, but you could see the heat coming from where the holes were in my jeans, from my skin. You could see my hands were red on the thermal, but my head, I didn't even have my hoodie on. It was down. I had my hair up in a bun and my head was ice cold. It was just ice cold. It looked like I had a hoodie on, like there was no heat coming from my face. It was really strange. And then I kept saying that I can feel them touching me. I can feel them touching me. And then on this thermal, you could see in certain places on my arms and my shoulders where it would go from a warmer temperature, like, you know, a yellow or a light orange, not red, but a light orange. And you'll see it turn blue, because that would, you know, that signify that it was getting colder. And as they have it on me, when it's spot on, you can see the temperature of the thing you're aiming at. And at that time, it was me. But you'll watch the temperature. It'll go up, it'll go down. But it should always remain the same. You know, because our body temperature stays the same.
Right.
The room temperature shouldn't have changed, you know, but it did. It kept going up and down, up and down. So I think that would be my most phenomenal thing that has happened. I mean, I've had a lot of crazy stuff. Don't get me wrong. There has been a lot of crazy stuff, but emotionally, that one shook me.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, after that, you know, because when things like that happen to me, I have two go-tos. I need some water and I need some candy. It's like I need water and I need sugar. Just bring it to me so I can feel, you know, it can let some of that go, you know, because I've calmed down. I have those. Now I'm a big Twizzler fan, so those are the ones I rely on. So I always carry a big bag of Twizzlers with me everywhere I go. So, you know, and I eat a couple of those and have a bottle of water, and usually I'm fine after that. But it does take an emotional toll on you anytime that Chris and I are in these situations. I mean, you feel drained. It sucks the energy right out of you. Absolutely.
Absolutely, it does.
Crazy. That is just too scary. That is too scary. I'm thinking about it, and you all definitely you all have to write a book, because that's just, I don't even want to think about it, because that's just right. You know, we're talking about the body temperature, and you can see the things touching, the entities touching, because
yeah, it's kind of like you would see, you know, like fingertips or maybe like a poke. Yeah, I mean, it's all on there. How do you explain that? How do you say that the spiritual realm does not exist? That's why, you know, when we're talking Bigfoot and Dogman and other cryptids, it wasn't that hard for us to go woo. It was not, because we've experienced it for real on the paranormal side. So, you know, so we, you know, when people are talking about maybe some UFO sightings or orbs, or, you know, just any type of energy manifestation, we're like, yeah, we understand that. We understand that completely. So it wasn't really hard for us when we started, you know, gathering evidence and reading testimonies, and it was easy. It was, they're all, as Krista says, they are all intertwined.
Yep. I wholeheartedly believe that.
And I need to quit talking so much. I'm like
You're doing
chatting
great.
Kathy this morning.
You're great.
Yeah, this is great. This is great. You mentioned name Kat. Did you say Kathy?
I said I'm being like a chatty Kathy. That's just something that we use for,
I'm saying, oh no, I'm hearing things. You got the ghost over here.
No, that means I'm just running my mouth. That's all.
No, definitely no. That's good. That's
Yeah, no, you're doing great, Brandi.
right. That's what we want because we want the information. You know.
Right. But there is a place that Kristen and I like to go to, and we've been there plenty of times. And it's just it's a go-to for our haunting, because I don't know about anybody else, but once you get into paranormal, you go into withdrawals. You go into this. I need a haunting fix. I need something. But I'm gonna let Kristen tell you about this place, and we love this place. Go ahead, Kristen.
Yeah, it's kind of our home base, and it's called the Ray County Museum, and it's in Richmond, Missouri. And our very good friend Kathy, she's the curator there. She's not only the curator, however, she just recently moved into the apartment there, so she lives there too now. But it's a building of there's 52 rooms, but 50 of them are themed a different way. Like there's everything from a grandma's 50s kitchen to a Civil War room. There's a Native American room, and it's all artifacts. And there's a 50s schoolhouse room. So it's all different artifacts that people over the years have donated to this place. And then not only is the rooms, with you have all this energy from all these items, you also have the building itself. It was a poor farm, and a lot of sadness, a lot of sorrow have went through there. And then back in it was a poor farm from 1907, I believe, until the 50s. And then from the 50s to the early 70s, it was a nursing home. And then in the 70s, the county took it over and it opened up as the Ray County Museum. So there's just so much history there. And, there's the resident normal ghost that we encounter. However, there's always something new because, she's always taking in donations too. So there's always new articles and items. And
well, yeah, at the end of the show, you all can give the information about that for donations, if that'll help.
Yeah. Yeah. The Ray County Museum's in Richmond, Missouri. And, it is free. They're open Wednesdays through Saturdays from noon to 4 p.m. And people can come in and take a tour and just look at the rooms. Or if they're into the ghost side of things, she can talk that too,
Yeah. Let's jump back to the cryptid side just a little bit because, that part of Missouri is known for Momo.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. So, I mean, we do have that. Now, Krista, tell us about the Amazon driver. Where was that located, from the museum area?
So from the Ray County Museum, there was a killing, and it was an Amazon driver who was, the news said that was killed by dogs, 2 dogs. One was, they said, a German Shepherd. The other was a Mastiff. And the story goes that the Amazon driver, and this was just maybe October last year, I think.
Yeah, I think so,
like that. The Amazon driver was delivering packages to a home, and I believe the body was found outside of the van, the Amazon truck.
Oh.
So the homeowner was not home. They were out of town, and somebody was coming in and taking care of their dogs. However, their dogs had a doggy door. And this is messed up too. A passerby saw the body and called for help. And so when the police got there, the dogs weren't even outside. They entered the house, the police did. And, I have dogs. And my dogs are not aggressive. They are friendly. However, you come in their house and nobody else is there and you're making all kinds of noise, they're going to turn aggressive, as any dog would. They're protecting their home. So unfortunately, these dogs were shot. They were killed inside their home. Yeah. I had told you about the Ray County Museum. One of the board members there, he works at the funeral home there in town. And he said that when the body got there, it was the worst he's ever seen. It was not dog attacks. So me being me, I drove the area and I could definitely see where, an humanoid attack could take place. the name to the Amazon driver has never been released. You've never found anything about a death certificate. The animals were never tested. The dogs weren't. So I think the dogs got the short end of the stick here on this.
Yeah, I mean, because they're talking about that this driver was again mutilated. Now, how could you not test the dog's stomach contents to see if they had it in their stomachs? They didn't even say if the dogs had blood on them. Nobody knows. They were in the house. It just does not make any sense to me.
No.
That this
Everything
could be a
about it
dog
screams
attack.
it's not right. And
Yeah,
so this location is only probably 8 miles from the Ray County Museum where we go. And then, before this, back in 2020, that was where I had my Bigfoot encounter that I didn't know was a Bigfoot encounter. And, it was at a place called Big River Ranch. And it was middle of the night, and a lot of times I can't sleep, so I'll just go sit outside. And I took my dog out, and I've got a 200-pound English Mastiff myself who loves everybody. And so I took Hoss outside and do his thing. Well, he was looking towards the wood line, and he started growling. Brandi can attest. She's met my dog many times. My dog does not growl. He doesn't bark. He just a big lover, loves everybody. But I got this overwhelming feeling of being watched. Something was not right. And I've been doing this ghost thing for many years, and ghosts don't scare me. And I got scared. So our friend Kathy that runs the museum, we used to share a camper together. She was inside sleeping on the couch in there. And I went in and I asked her to come outside. And she come outside and she's like, whoa, there's something not right out here. So we didn't really say too much about it. I kind of backed into the door, took my dog in, and she ended up, we just made the comment, oh, it was probably some silly raccoon or something watching us or something, and never said anything else about it. And then, so if you fast forward 6 months, we did an event called Fall Into the Supernatural, and it was held at that location. And we had a lot of different speakers, paranormal, UFO, cryptid type speakers come in. And it was actually D.A. Roberts who was speaking Friday night for us on Bigfoot, and on Saturday afternoon he was going to talk on Dogman. And so this was, excuse me, I'm sorry. Actually, I got ahead of myself.
That's okay. Take your time.
Let me back up to my encounter. So 6 months later, we did the Fallen Supernatural. A friend of ours, Jessica Potter, came in, and she is known as the Mermaid Medium. And she asked Kathy and I, sorry, I got a frog in my throat.
Right. Drink water. Take your time.
I did too. I mean, it's May, it's allergy season. Just go with it.
Anyway, so Jessica Potter comes over to Kathy and I, and she says, I need to know what happened over in those woods. Tell me what happened over there. And Kathy and I are like, what? And then it hit us. And she said it wasn't that camper, because there was a different camper at that time there. And she said, I see your dog. I see a big brown dog. And you backed into camper going up steps. I'm like, holy cow. I didn't post this on Facebook. Kathy and I never said anything else about it, except that next morning laughing about probably raccoons watching us. And she described everything and how she knew this. I have no idea. And I told her, we ended up telling her, yeah, something was not right. It scared us. And she said, you had Sasquatch watching you. So I really believe it, only because we didn't ask her about it. She's the one that told us. She came to us about it. How would this lady have known? Right. So I fully 100% believe that we had a Sasquatch encounter. So, okay. So that evening, we had the Bigfoot part of the deal, and it was a campfire, and there was about 30 attendees, and D.A. Roberts was there. He was talking on Bigfoot. And I was sitting next to his wife in chairs. We had chairs, and something was tossed or thrown and landed in the middle of she and I. Pointed flashlights out there. There was nothing. We couldn't see anything. So DA went along with his what he was doing. The rest of the evening, it ended about midnight. he and his wife and his 2 sons, who are grown sons, were going back to their hotel room, and about half a mile from the ranch on the gravel road, they saw what he believes to be a dog man that crossed the road in front of him. This ranch where I had my Bigfoot, he had the dogman encounter, is only 8 miles from the museum that we were talking about, and then probably another 16 miles total from where the Amazon driver was found. So I personally believe that the Amazon driver was not killed by the dogs that were there to the house. I personally believe, I don't believe Bigfoot are all out there trying to kill people either.
Right.
So
No.
I believe that's more along the dogmen. So I believe the Amazon driver was murdered by a dogman, and I know they're out there because I trust D.A. Roberts 110%. He's legit, and he's seen one close out there. And there's just, wouldn't you agree, Brandi?
I do. And the whole thing about the Amazon driver is because they didn't release any information. They didn't even say if the dogs had blood on them. All they had said in all the reports is that the dogs were acting aggressively as the police entered the premise.
Yeah. And the only
they're gonna
reason
do that.
we know that it was a male UPS or Amazon driver was because of the man who works at the funeral home. Otherwise, you still wouldn't know because they never released a name. And, they do that. They usually, when somebody dies like that, you'll get a name or, what they died from or nothing.
Right. And due to the description of the body, these dogs would have had to eaten some of this from the mutilation. But like I said, they didn't test the dogs or anything.
No.
So it's just kind of like, it does not, what the reports are from the news, I'm starting to get a flicker. It just doesn't add up. It doesn't add up. The dogs couldn't have done this. And if they had people taking care of them, they were fed.
Right.
So they would make their marks. If they did attack, they would make their marks, maybe do a little head shake. You know how they do. They're going to do a little head shake or whatever. But once the thing that they're after is down, they're going to leave it.
Right.
Yeah. And
they're not going to tear it up.
Yes. And I have, it was an English Mastiff, they said was one of the dogs, and a German Shepherd being another one. I personally have an English Mastiff. I've had them for 20 years. I've never seen an aggressive English Mastiff. They are gentle giants, and they love everybody, including other animals and all people. And I can't see that dog doing that.
Yeah. But they, it's just hard. It's hard to say.
That is crazy. But
Yeah.
And I real quick, I love Mastiffs. Check out the Asian Bull Mastiff Sheepdog. Beautiful.
Okay.
Beautiful dogs.
I
Check
will.
those out when you get time. Anyway, back to the point. Man, that is crazy though with the Amazon driver. It's just,
You can look it up. You can Google it. It'll tell you the story. They may have even said a little more, but we really haven't got any more information than what we already have.
Yeah.
How long ago was that?
This was back in, I would say October, early November, something like that.
Yeah, it hasn't been a year. It hasn't been a year at all.
Nope, not at all. Not at
That's terrible. Did
more people coming in, so.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you have to do your thing. Did they say anything about family? Anything about him having kids or nothing?
Not that I know of. I haven't seen any reports on that. They had said, like I said, they may have come out with something more since then. They're not releasing much information about him. I don't know if that's due to Amazon or to a certain agency. We're just not going to go into that. But they're just not saying much about it. I don't even think they even released the name that I had seen, even on the news or news reports. I hadn't seen it. I'm sure we could have gotten the name from the coroner, but it's just kind of like, why hide all of it?
Right. Because most of the time, as a matter of fact, as an Amazon driver nowadays, Amazon, Uber, Lyft drivers that are involved in crimes or murder or something like that, they're usually sensationalized. I mean, like maybe it'd be like a week, but
Yeah.
still, you know, their name is given if they had spouses and things like that. So
Yeah.
that's
Well, I'm thinking that this may be along the lines of Amazon just didn't want to put this out there. I mean, it doesn't look great for their company.
right,
I mean, even though they didn't do anything wrong, it's just not something you want to be known for.
right,
Because look at us talking about it. We're talking about the Amazon driver.
right.
So I mean, they just don't want to be linked to it. And plus, it was their employee.
Mm,
So for me, it's just crazy. But going back to the Momo part, there are sightings of Bigfoot all over up there. And dogmen also. It's just they're all up into that area. But I live at the most southern part, southeastern, should I say, southeastern part of Missouri. 3 hours to the west of me is the Ozarks.
ooh,
And the Ozarks are filled with, the stories and the encounters. And, so I have not gone over there yet to investigate that part because there's just so many places. I don't,
yeah.
it's like we have
So
to have our daytime jobs to support what we want to do.
exactly.
So I still have to go to work. But I mean, I haven't gotten over there yet, but there's a lot of places I want to go that you cannot just get to.
Get to right.
Yeah, you just can't get to. So I'm like, gosh, because it'll take me a long time to hike in there. And then in some of these places you can't camp, so you'll have to hike back out.
Yes.
And but I mean, I'm really wanting to do that. That's another on my bucket list, just to get over there and see what's over there. Because it's right on the border of Arkansas, and you got the Ozark howler and all kinds of other cryptids that are right in this area. And like I said, Krista and I are just really jumping into the cryptid arena, should I say?
Right.
And we're really trying to. I don't know. We're really trying to do our research before we just jump out there ourselves. Now, we do go out at this time right now. We go out with experienced people, experienced trackers. We do not go out unarmed because that's just crazy. Not because we're afraid of Bigfoot or dog. That's not it. I'm afraid of the weirdos, the crazy people, the animals. It's just like when I'm going down to Texas, I am not going out into the woods unarmed. The wild hogs will tear you up. So I am not, I'm not going out there unarmed. There's no way. Even the rangers and everything in Texas say they recommend you carry a firearm because of the animals out there. Namely the wild hogs, because they're just brutal.
Yeah.
I don't think I just don't think they really have a purpose except for causing a mess and they're messing up farmers' crops and so they're a pest. Is what they are. And so they're actually going up in helicopters and they're killing them off from the air because they're just so many of them, and they're causing so much damage that they're just overpopulated.
Yeah, because I have a buddy, and he told me about that. And he said he wants us to go. We have to get our hunting license, and then he wants to go to, I think, Texas, like you said, and do the helicopter thing so we can get the hog. But I said, well, look, because in my culture we don't waste food, so we kill. I said, but we have to give it to the needy because I'm not eating all that hog,
Right,
whatever.
right. I'm not.
Right. So. I was told that though, but it's so bad now that they're like, well, we're giving away trips now in contests where they're taking the hunters out there by the helicopter and just, definitely. That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it is bad. It is bad. And if you look at the maps and where the concentration of these hogs are, you're seeing that they're moving north. So they've got to get the population under control before it starts reaching other states, or it's just going to be a massive problem, a massive, even though it is that in Texas right now, but they are migrating north because of the hunting and things like that. They're trying to find a safe place to do their thing, but it's so bad. It's just like at one time you would only see an armadillo in Texas. That's where you would see him, Texas. I see them all the way up in Missouri. They're they're running out and getting hit in the road all the time over here.
Right.
It's not uncommon to see an armadillo run across the road here in Missouri.
Right. Well, no, I
So-
I totally understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
We're Maryland State, and now we're getting Upper Maryland. We're starting to get sightings of cougars and things like that. So
Things that you would never seen.
right.
And a lot of that has to do with it. And I think that's along the lines with the cryptid and why we're seeing so much more now than we ever used to.
Mhm.
For number one, I think it's because of the technology. We've got
Technology.
phones and all this other kind of stuff. So we cannot deny some of the pictures out there
Right.
because they're there.
Right.
It's like
Definitely.
you just can't. It's kind of like the Patty film.
Mhm.
You can't fake that back in the 60s. I'm sorry. You
Right.
just, they didn't have this Photoshop and all of it. You just can't.
Right. The suit
So-
alone, like they said, would have had to have been incredibly technical. The suit
Right.
for that time period.
Right. So when Bob Gimlin speaks, I listen.
Right.
I hear him. When Ron Moorhead speaks, I listen. Because
Yeah.
the Sierra sounds, they didn't have access
Right.
to this all expensive equipment out there, and you can tell that it is not done in a studio.
Mhm.
This is back in the 70s, so you've got to really look at this stuff. And now we just talked to Ron Moorhead a couple weeks ago.
He's fantastic. I met him.
He is
He's fantastic.
we got into talking about quantum physics, and I sat and listened to that man, and I said, I'm kind of tracking with you.
Mhm.
I said, I'm getting the gist of it. I said, I don't know everything because I am not a quantum physics kind of person,
Right.
but what he says makes sense. Everything
does.
can be explained by math.
Mhm. And I'm telling you, Mr. Ron is fantastic. I met him in Virginia at a Bigfoot conference in Virginia a few years ago, and he's fantastic in the way that he explains things because he gave a seminar up there. It's fantastic, and I mean his voice is hypnotic. He's just like the Clint Eastwood of Bigfoot. You know what I mean?
I know.
And it's
I
like
know.
he talks, and you just can't. He's hypnotic. He's fantastic.
Well, we had him on our show, and I guess that's why I love doing this type of thing, because you can have a one-on-one conversation with somebody that you wouldn't normally get to. Like I said, you go to the conferences and you get to see these people. You may get to share about 10 minutes conversation if you're lucky.
Right.
If you're lucky.
If
You
like,
know,
and then
get
you
your
don't
picture
want to bother
taken.
them sometimes because they're
Yeah, but
bombarded
on a
by so many
podcast,
things.
right. But on a podcast, you have them for an hour, hour and a half, and you can just pick their brain for everything they've got.
Right.
And see, our platform is we don't like to sit and, ask all the mainstream kind of questions. We like
Right.
to talk about,
Right.
like, if we were sitting around a campfire, we want to have that conversation. We want to hear the stories. We want to talk about our stories. So that is our platform. Is that's why we're big talkers. We're big talkers.
That's good for
because
me.
right. We want to have this conversation with everybody. We want everybody involved. We want it like a whole bunch of friends sitting around, like a big old family having a conversation, around the kitchen table. We want to have that. And, that's what we like, and I'm glad, that being on your show right now is awesome, because
Thank you.
you're interacting with us, you're talking, you're asking questions, you're reacting to what we're saying. It's fantastic. I love it. And thanks.
Thank you. No problem. No,
Thanks
thank
a lot.
you. This is definitely great. Well, the difference with this show is it's not just, we don't want all the glamour and glitz of the Bigfoot world or the paranormal world. We also want the mediocre and some of the kind of the smaller details, like, hey, when you were in this haunted house, how did you feel? Well, so many other shows want to do this. Oh, I want all the excitement, but that's how I designed the shows, so that we could also talk about the small stuff. You know what I mean? Not just
Yeah.
definitely.
And we've only touched on very little of what Krista and I have encountered during our I don't want to call them careers, but our lifespan.
Mhm.
Just very little of what we couldn't possibly go through in an hour and a half of what we've been through. And it is amazing, both on the cryptid side and the paranormal side, and we're kind of even trekking off into the UFO side. I mean, now that the government has done its a soft disclosure about, okay, maybe there are aliens. Okay, so they're not telling me anything new. I already knew that. There has got to be life beyond the Earth. I mean, we have so many planets in the
Right.
universe. I mean, there has got to be something else out there. So, I mean, they're not telling me anything new, and we don't have another 5 hours to go through that. So,
Well, let me ask you. I'm glad you brought up the UFO thing.
mhm.
Do you think that because obviously in the Bigfoot community, do you think there's a connection between like the Bigfoot and dog man, dog woman with the UFO alien thing? How do you think? I mean,
That's a big question. That is a big question because nobody knows.
right.
But there are instances. I'm gonna have to fix my light. Hang on, let me turn this down. The
Take your
light's
time.
changing around me because of the daylight. Hang on a second. Let me turn this down so
That's
it'll
good.
stop bouncing.
Those are the
Um,
ghosts changing a lot.
yeah,
The ghosts.
well, because when we started, the light was different outside. So I needed light. Now that it's coming up on the other side, it's like, well, now you need some light or not need light. And it's still going to bounce and forth, but that's okay. Um, but people are experiencing paranormal and UFO type experiences after their encounters.
Mhm.
It's many Bigfoot encounters have said, okay, look, after I saw the Bigfoot, then there were lights in the sky. They
Mm.
weren't airplane lights, they were unexplained. So I mean, we're having that. We're having that. And then
Mm.
we're having like Bigfoot and orbs or dogmen and orbs or things that we would consider paranormal may not be paranormal. Maybe they're more unexplained UFO type, activity. We're not really sure. And that's what Chris and I are doing this for because we want to know.
Right.
And we're having a fun time doing it.
That's good. That's good. And you gotta have fun too. I mean, some people they get addicted and they end up losing their. I got one buddy, and he almost lost his family because he was just always. He was like, I gotta figure this mystery out. I'm in the woods all the time, and
No,
started to
no,
neglect everything.
we are not obsessed.
Right.
But we are addicted to a point where, if we get some free time, let's go,
Yeah.
but we plan it out. We have to be able to afford it. We've got to make sure that, our family is taken care of first.
Right. Definitely.
We got to make sure that's all. Like we even took our daughter. She took her daughter. I took my daughter. We took them to the LBL.
Oh, what? That's great. Family
Yeah.
outing.
Yeah.
That's great. So let me ask you this. What do you all feel like if you really had to think about it, or if you had to put your money on it, let's put it that way. If you had to put your money on it, what do you think that the Bigfoot and the Dogman are composed of? Like, do you feel that they are a part of us? Are they a tribe? Are they part human, part dog, and are the Bigfoot part human, part primate, part simian? What do you all think of? Just your opinion.
I think and I'm sorry it's super loud here. I have kids banging pianos, so if you can't hear me, just
They're
let me.
It's okay.
Anyway, I watch Dr.
Oh,
Melba Ketchum. I think
She's great.
yeah, I think she summed it up when she tested these creatures. They come up as half human and half unknown.
Right.
So what does that tell you?
Right. They can't figure out the father. Well,
I mean,
sometimes
yeah,
as human
yeah.
beings too, we can't figure out the father, but sometimes that's us too as well. But
I mean, You know, Chris and I, you should hear us when we're driving around. We come up with some theories. You know, we could be just driving around and we just talk about whatever.
Uh-huh.
And some of the theories we're coming up with is everybody talks about the missing link,
Hmm.
you know, in the evolution.
Right, right.
Could Bigfoot be that missing link?
Mhm.
Could they be something that evolved along our line, being human, you know, from the ape factor all the way up to the point of where they disconnected from the human population evolution. So they kind of maybe have stepped off to the side and not evolved the way we have.
Mhm.
You know, we've adapted. I want to say we've adapted more to our environment.
Mm.
You know, so yes, we have less hair now, and our brain size, and you know all of this stuff because we've evolved to our environment.
Mhm.
But what if Bigfoot did not involve its body size or shape
Mm.
to the environment, but its mind?
Mm. Okay. Okay.
You know, that it has gone more to woo. You know, that's all I can say. More woo.
Mhm.
Maybe it's intuitive or psychic or you know anything like that. Maybe that is more developed. It's brain size. Maybe you know you just don't know. It's these crazy things that Krista and I talk about because it's a theory. But I mean, does it hold any weight? I don't know.
Mhm.
You know, it's that's all we can do as investigators is speculate because nobody's an expert. Nobody knows the real truth out there. But we're all looking for the same thing.
Right.
You know, we're finding the answers to the end all question.
Mhm.
Where does Bigfoot come from?
Right. Right.
Yep. And I personally believe he's, another type of people, I guess,
Mhm.
Yeah,
out there.
you know, that's where the evolution theory comes from. I think it may be the missing link that everybody's talked about forever, and I mean years and years and years. So,
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
it's a possibility. It's only my opinion, and it's really not an opinion. It's just a speculation, a
Mhm.
theory,
That's
you
right.
know, kind of thing that we just talk about the weird stuff. Because if you don't throw these things out there and you're not talking to like-minded people, you won't come up with anything new.
Right. Right.
You
Definitely.
know.
Trading. Yeah. Trading information is important.
Yes, and
Yeah.
bouncing things off because you never know. Things may, pop up and you're like, well, maybe you were right. And
Mhm.
you're like, well, you know, it's just a
Mhm.
theory, but it could happen.
Definitely, I agree. I agree, and I think it's important to share your notes, so to speak,
Yes.
to interact with fellow Bigfooters because a lot of people don't know. Even though it's a very popular thing across the world, especially now, we're still not. It's still not accepted. We're, in other words, we're still a small, as large as we think we are across the world, even the country and in the world. We still have to understand that we're still a small crowd of believers, the ones who are really into
Yes.
it. So,
Yes. But we were also a small crowd when about the UFO until,
yeah, yeah.
you know,
What was
until the
the Tic
government
Tac
just
video?
recently gave the soft disclosure
Mhm.
and they said, well, they're real. And they're
Mhm.
only releasing just a tiny, tiny bit
Right,
of everything. But
right.
now they're thinking, oh, yeah, well, it did happen in Roswell.
Mhm.
Okay.
Right.
And then we're asking, okay, what else? And
Yeah,
they're
and
not
not
giving
only
us.
Roswell, but there was a lot of other UFO crashes that, people
Yeah,
that
that
aren't
they're
talking
really
about
not.
Roswell.
Mhm.
Yes, that they're not talking about.
Right. I heard. I think what is I saw a few reports online. I think what is it? Was it? I know China was getting some UFO action for a while. They were getting a lot of crazy stuff in Asia over there for a while.
Everybody's getting it.
In
And it's more so
Peru,
now.
in
It's more so now.
Peru, yeah,
Hmm.
Peru gets a lot of action. Just like, oh, there's a UFO. Okay, well, they're getting a lot of action.
There is so much going on that people are just not talking about because they don't want to risk the somebody calling them crazy. They don't want to risk that.
Right, right. That's
Um, but can you imagine if all the people came out and told their stories?
oh my goodness,
Yeah, exactly. Because
volumes would be
there
volumes.
would be so many things out there that again the government couldn't deny. Maybe we'd have another soft disclosure about Bigfoot or Dogman or whatever.
Mhm.
Maybe we'd have to force their hand in doing so.
Mhm. Well,
Because
well,
I,
just
I think,
oh, I'm
go
sorry.
ahead.
Well, also what you all can do and what the listeners can do. I think what is it? Washington D.C. it's called Press Box or something like that, where they have all the pilots come out and tell about their eyewitnesses, kind of like a conference. I think they do it once a year, and they go ahead and all like the pilots and the retired military pilots come out and they tell about the UFO experiences. So I think it's called. The DC conference press box or something. If you Google it, and then they have a thing every year. But regular just citizens can come. You know, it's really a great thing. Oh, as a matter of fact, you can watch it on YouTube too. All the conferences.
Awesome.
Yeah, yeah. So
Well,
and they
is this just military?
no, it's
Retired.
everything. It's commercial pilots. It's
Nice.
commercial pilots, military pilots, eyewitnesses, not just pilots, but anybody that has an eyewitness that wants to come forth, they can talk at this conference. It's fantastic.
Can you imagine though being a commercial pilot and you're traveling, out
Oh,
of the country into another country, going over the ocean, and
hmm
what you could see out there?
hmm
That would be amazing.
yeah,
I would love to hear that, so I'll look that up.
yeah.
I wanna see what they've got to say about that. Now, do they hold this every year, or is it
I think
just
it's every year. So if you go to YouTube, if you Google Washington D.C. UFO press conference, it should pop up. If it doesn't, then well, you can do it on YouTube or either, because YouTube you can watch the actual event. So it's really good. A lot of people don't know about it yet, but it's really good. And
okay?
but
Yeah, that's.
oh, I'm sorry.
Go
Sorry.
I said, but I was just gonna say that's something that I would really be interested in watching.
Okay. Okay. Well, ladies, I thank you for your time. We definitely had a good time today. Um,
I
well,
apologize for all the noise. We
no,
never
no,
got here in one day.
that look, that'll be the soundtrack for the episode. That's the intro music. The kids banging on the piano.
Yeah,
But
it's
no,
Saturday, so that's why she's having that.
no, totally understand. I'm a workhorse, so I know sometimes I'll have to do the podcast I'm a truck driver, so I have to do the
Oh, okay.
podcast from my truck sometimes when I have time. So I totally understand. It's not a problem. It happens, you know. But I want to thank you all for your time. Thank you for coming today.
Thank you for having us, for sure.
Yes, ma'am.
We appreciate
Definitely.
that.
Is there? Oh, is there anything? Because what I like to do, is there any charities or businesses that you want to mention here so that anybody can donate, or any phone numbers or emails or anything you want to get out right now? Okay, anything?
I would definitely say the Ray County Museum.
Okay,
That's in Richmond, Virginia.
okay. And how could
Richmond,
people?
Missouri.
Okay,
Missouri, Brandy, not
Virginia.
is it Virginia?
Why am I thinking
no,
Richmond,
it
Virginia?
is Missouri.
Okay, sorry.
It's fine.
It happens. It happens. I'm on a different wavelength. I'm thinking about Washington and pilots and UFOs,
There
and
you,
yeah,
there
okay,
you
time lapse.
go.
Problem. All right. Go ahead.
Okay. So the museum, is it something where they have to visit to donate, or can they donate
Nope,
online?
it's Ray County Museum, and you can find her find it on Facebook,
Okay.
and yeah, the address is there, and for donation and everything is right there on Facebook.
Okay.
Mhm.
And you all want to give everybody the name of your Facebook page and
We
everything?
we are Blondes and Booze on Facebook. Um, it's a group page, and come and join it. And then we are Blondes and Booze Paranormal Podcast on YouTube, and we
Okay.
put out new shows every Thursday and Friday evening. And then Brandy does Monday evenings with Texas Front Porch, and I do Thursday afternoon with Bigfoot Michigan Rob. So
Mm,
a little bit of
that's
everything.
That is great. Okay, ladies. Well, thank you. And if you get any, any more action, like we can do another episode if you want. That's fine. And just keep me posted on everything, because I think I'm finally, like, after 400 years of no free time at work, I'm starting to take vacation and things like this.
Yeah, we understand that.
Right. Okay, ladies. So thank you. And what I'll do is I'm gonna end the broadcast now. And I'll go ahead and post it, and then you all can do what you want with it. It's your show.
All right. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so
We
much. I
appreciate you.
it.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Have a good day. Bye
Have a
bye.
good day. Take care. Be safe. Okay, folks. Thanks for joining us for Bigfoot. Um, this is definitely a good episode. But thank you for joining us for Into the Night Bigfoot Paranormal Podcast. Make sure you please like and subscribe. Trying to get the numbers up. Let's see what else is going on. If you've had any encounters or anything that you want to talk about, you can hit us at the phone number 410-424-6349. You can go ahead and text. It's better to text because we're so busy. Also, you can go to David Thundercloud, all lowercase, all one word, at yahoo.com if you want your stories to be told. So thank you for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed the episode. So just, I like to leave with something crazy. So stay cool, stay close to your mother. Have a great Mother's Day to you ladies out there. Stay close to God and don't get in any trouble. Have a good night.